we want to find the derivative of this function. So we are having y equal to 1 minus x, everything divided by 1 plus x, right? So this is the symbol of a derivative. So if you don't know what a derivative is, maybe I'll have a link to the playlist in the description, so you will consider whereby you have a simple, a real life meaning of a derivative. But the key here is that you have to know what to use and how to use it, right? So what I mean by that, you use a phone, a mobile phone, uh, for a communication, right? So this can be a communication, right? So that is how to call someone, chat, and so on and so forth. So here, based on the function given to us, that is the most important thing. So the function here is you have to know the type of function that we are dealing with. So that can help you to use the right tool to solve this type of problem. So which tool are we going to use here? So the tool here is what we call the quotient rule, right? So the quotient rule, right? So this is what you are going to use in solving that. The reason behind that is that this is being what a quotient or maybe a rational function, right? So you can see that something on top being divided by another thing at the top. So that thing looks similar to, let's say, 2 on 3, right? So meaning that we are dividing the 2 by the 3, right? So this is what the idea, and that's why we are using the quotient rule. So you must know the quotient rule, right? What it says is that this is what we are calling the question rule. Don't be scared with the letters and the variable, right? They are very, very simple to memorize and understand. I'll explain that in just a few seconds, right? So now that we know the function, the type of the function that we are dealing with, and we know the tool that we can use, maybe we are done with the 80% of the work, right? So these are the key word in derivative. Now here is what v du dx minus u the v dx, everything divided by what v squared. So where is this v coming from? Where is the v dx and all these things are coming from? Now in alphabetical order, we know that u comes before what the v, right? So you have u and the v. So here's the function. So the function is that we are going to replace anything on the top here by what u. So 1 minus x here, and then we have our v to be equal to 1 plus what plus x. Okay, so from the function we are just looking for this player. So we have v, we have u, so we are left with what the u, the x there, right? And then the v or the x. So what are we are going to do, we just need to find the derivative of these people, that is the u the x here, right? So this is just a name. So we have a definitions of this thing. So once again, make sure that you are watching that down below, right? So the idea, this is a polynomial. So taking a derivative of what any constant, so a number without a variable becomes zero, right? So the derivative of this thing, that is going to be what here tends to be what a negative one, right? So this is how I got a negative form. So this idea is coming from how to find the derivative of a polynomial, right? So something of this nature with a general rule. This is what it says. If you have, let me demonstrate that by example. So if you have x squared here, so I want to find a derivative. Let's say y equal to this. I want to find a derivative of this one. What I'm going to do here is that the 2 has to drop down. So meaning that I'm having so the derivative of the y, the x of this function here. So the 2 comes down here, right? So that's the 2 here. I'm having the x, and then I subtract 1 from the top here. So that's 2 minus 1, right? So this is the general rule. That is going to be 2 exponent x. Is that okay? So if you have a derivative of any constant, so a number without a variable is going to be 0, right? So those are the two laws that you must obey. That's the basic or the starting of a derivative. Now if I want to find a derivative of from here, you can say that the first one goes to 0. What about the second one? So I have a negative x here, so meaning that there's 1 here, right? So there's 1 here, right, according to the law, right? So this being raised to the power 1, so the 1 has to come down. We are going to have a negative 1, and then the x here, we are having what s raised to the power 1. We are subtracting 1 from this thing, right? So based on the rule, so here is going to be what this thing will be 0, right? So anything raised to the power 0 is 1. So that's why we are having negative 1, right? Okay, so I guess you should pause the video and try and find the derivative of this guy here. That is what the v with respect to the x, right? So find the derivative of this function. So here we are having 1, right? So maybe congratulations for trying. Okay, if you're having any issue, make sure that you comment in the comment section below for help, right? So make sure that you subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Anytime we upload video on what more questions on derivative or anything concerning high school mathematics, and then you'll be all notified. Now that we have all our players available, so you have the vin, you have the u, the x, you have u, the vin, the x, and then you have this one. We are just going to plug in into the function, right? So we are free to go, right? So everything will be perfect as it is. So here is going to be equal to, we have our v to be 1 plus x, right? So 1 plus x, let me bring this thing backwards a little bit. So we have 1 plus x here, and then multiply by the v in the x, which is so let's put this into bracket, and then we have the u, the x here, that is the negative 1 here, so negative 1, and then minus we have our u here, that is the 1 minus x here. So make sure that you are putting everything to the bracket to avoid any negative issue, right? So there you have the dividing the x here, that will be 1 here, and then everything will be divided by v squared. So where is the v is here, so we have 1 plus x, everything squared, right? So here we are going to simplify from this point. So now let's expand everything and then simplify. So remember, this negative 1 is multiply everything in the bracket. So this guy multiplied by that one, that should be equal to negative 1, right? And then this multiplied by this should be a negative x here. Remember, there's a negative here, so make sure that we deal with the bracket first. Is that okay? So this guy multiplied by that should be 1 here, and then this one multiplied by that should be negative x, right? So now we can everything divided by what? 1 plus 4. So pay attention. So here is a clue here. Now at the down here, you don't even need to worry yourself and expand, right? So you don't need to do that. Is that okay? So leave it as it is, and then here we are having what? Negative 1 minus what? Minus x, and then here the negative is going to affect the bracket, right? So this guy tends to be negative 1, and then here tends to be positive what? Positive x. That is why you need to pay a very close attention when you are dealing with a negative. Okay, so you have 1 plus x, everything raised to the power 2, right? So from here we can see that this guy here we are going to group, right? So this and this one tends to be so this and this, the negative one and negative, that is going to be negative 1 minus negative 1, right? So the negative 1, and then we have negative x plus what? Plus x, everything on what? 1 plus what? X or squared, right? And then this is going to be equal to this one give me a negative 2. Remember, this and this cancel out, right? So you have a negative and a positive here, right? So they cancel out, so we are having what? 1 plus x, everything square. We cannot proceed from this point again. Remember, I said that you don't need to expand this thing, right? So the derivative of the function given to us, that is what the dy the x of the function given to us, that is going to be negative 2 on 1 plus x, everything square.